All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to be discussing smartphone carrier deals. Recently put up a poll on this because I wanted to spark your interest ahead of time to see if you guys would follow along. Go check that poll out if it's still up. You'll be surprised at the results. But should you still be buying phones through your carrier? And if so, why are you doing it? And if you decide to pass on doing that, be sure to talk about it down below in the comments on why you just don't like carrier deals anymore. Woosah. Let's go. All right, so let's kick this thing off. Let's go back a little bit to T-Mobile. Now, back in the day, T-Mobile started this uncarrier thing, and they also said we're taking away cell phone contracts. Folks, if you believed that at the time, I'm not going to call you naive, but you're a little naive. So they never took away the cell phone contracts. This is just another thing where all the carriers get together, the CEOs or whoever, the PR teams, and say, let's trick these customers. Who wants to be the test dummy? T-Mobile said, I'll do it. And then T-Mobile did it. And then lo and behold, once they start to profit very well, here comes all the other carriers. T-Mobile did this thing where they say we're taking away contracts, and you don't have to pay. You're not locked into a contract anymore. And the funny part about our world is that they do things right in front of our face, and some people still don't get it, or they just choose to ignore it. One of the two. This is still a contract, folks. It's still a cell phone contract because you're now it's just a lease on the device itself. And the bad part is you still have to pay your cell phone bill. So if you're old enough, you remember when cell phones were subsidized, meaning you got a huge discount on the phone when you signed a 2-year contract. Well, the problem with that logic is that companies were losing a ton of money on the devices because they have to pay for these devices. And then they have to get you to pay your cell phone bill too. So you could essentially, back in the day, start service with the company, get the phone in jet, and then get it unlocked and then go where you want it to go. Unlocking cell phone services back in the day was a huge business. In fact, I was buddies with a guy who owns this own unlocking company. I'm pretty sure he's not doing too well now because the unlocked world is booming. Nobody has to really pay for unlocks anymore. Carriers will even unlock the devices after a certain amount of time. So that after having cell phone contracts like that, or cell phone providers do that for so many years, some bright idea came up to someone, and I gotta give them credit. It is a good idea to try to convince a person that they're not actually on a contract and they're buying the phones they want direct. And your cell phone bill, no, that's not a contract anymore. But here you can get any phone you want, just finance the phone with zero interest and things like that. So T-Mobile started this snowball effect. They did so well with telling people and showing people that they can get any phone they want now. I mean, literally, people were financing phones that were $2,000 at one point. The first Galaxy Fold. You can finance anything in the store, but they just took an initial look at your credit, and after that, that's your cell phone. You qualify for what you qualify for, and in doing so, it created it's just mob mentality, I guess. Think of it that way. Everybody, their sister, their cousin, their mother, everybody's now walking around with these very expensive phones. But it's more to just financing that phone on your cell phone plan. These companies now will convince you, starting with T-Mobile. Remember how nobody really wanted to pay for insurance before. Well, now people will easily put insurance on their phone because they know in the back of their head, oh snap, I have to pay for this phone for 2 years, now 3 years in 2022. I got to pay for this phone and I don't want anything to happen to it while I'm still paying on it, because if it breaks and I don't have insurance or something happens outside of the warranty period, I'm screwed and I have to pay for this phone and get another phone. So here's where the carriers make even more money. Believe it or not, there are people that walk into that store and they add everything the carriers tell them to add. Serious. They just say yes to everything. I've seen it happen before, and you have too. So now you get into a situation where you finance this phone for $1,800 for 36 months, and then you're paying insurance on top of that. And insurance pricing through carriers, folks, is much higher than it is from going direct. So carrier pricing on insurance, I believe, It's roughly between $15 to $18. If you buy, okay, so let's take Samsung and Apple. I just happen to have them here. Even Google. I got my pics over there. My Apple Care on my phone is $12.99 for everything. Like literally damaged, lost, stolen, $12.99. If I were to get this same phone through T-Mobile, it's like $18 and some change. And the carriers they've slowly increased. Anybody remember when insurance was $3 on a device? If you're old enough to remember that, it was really affordable at that point. And even Samsung, their care is even lower in cost than Apple. Theirs is $11. If you get any kind of government discounts, $8. So that's the best way to get your insurance if you really want to take care of it. If you own a home, I don't suggest you do this. If you own a home, everything is covered under your home. Homeowners, you know what I'm talking about. But if you want to add insurance to your device and you're going through a carrier, that's another part of this being a horrible deal. The carriers, after T-Mobile planted this seed, and they said, whoa, we're not locked in anymore. And if the person keeps let's just say a person starts a contract or a lease today, and the phone is $1,750, the person decides, I don't want this anymore. I'm leaving your company. They're going to now bill you for the rest of that device on your credit. Eventually, if you don't pay, they're going to bill you for it regardless. So if you're paying monthly and you stop and it says it right on the website, if you cancel service, all this money is due right away. So the difference between doing that if you don't pay versus a cell phone contract when you don't pay is a cell phone contract is just your last bill and then whatever's prorated amount. It will never come to $1,800. It'll depend on what your bill is. You could just pay $45 and you get to keep the device. And this was before they were blacklisting the devices. Does anybody remember when phones were not blacklisted and you can just leave the carriers and you kept the device and did what you wanted to do? Yeah. So aside from, starting a plan today, which is simply a lease, which is still a contract because you have to sign it, they're ready to take the risk. It's less of a risk for them to financially to just let you finance that phone, put a down payment if you have to, or just do zero down if you have to. They make more money by you doing it that way in the end if you try to screw them over. Now, the flip side of getting a phone through a carrier is this. Now, we all have to pay our cell phone bill, right? Here's where prepaid wins, okay, versus postpaid. It's postpaid, you pay after, prepaid, you pay before. So, and even prepaid phones now, carriers, you can finance the phone. Folks, just try to avoid it at all costs. I know some of you have to do it, and I know some of you are just in that situation. Or some of you just don't, you want to do it. You don't have to do it, but you just want to. You don't want to. I read some of the comments on the poll, and some people say it's not. A few people, it's a balanced playing field. Some people say, I don't have to do it, but I choose to do it because I'm going to get rid of this phone in a year, and so I can just turn it back in. Great logic, good thinking. That's actually good thinking. If you know you're going to upgrade or switch it out, and your carrier has the ability to do so, and to where they wipe that balance clean, and you can send it right on up out of there, that's a great deal. But unfortunately, OEMs have already started to do that too, directly. The trade-in program. Samsung does it and Apple does it. So if you are a person who's on a postpaid account, you get more perks. Literally, they'll give you anything free, but those plans now, they've got the premium plans, and then, these are just the regular plans. You see the trick that they've done to get us to this point? We have unlimited, but we have our ultimate unlimited. Folks, unlimited is unlimited. Every time you pick a plan, if you're going to go unlimited, I tell people, just pick the lowest plan. And some people are going to say, well, they give me HBO. No, you're paying for the HBO. You're just getting it through the carrier. Remember, the price goes up. You're just paying for it. So I still don't understand how people still haven't figured this out. Anytime you're on a postpaid account and you have some perks, the price goes up, so you pay for it. It's not free. It's not included in your plan. Anybody who says otherwise, we need to have a one-on-one. We need to have a one-on-one and talk if you honestly believe that it's free. And I've spoken to a lot of people that said, oh, I'm on the premium plan, so I get this ad included and free. Well, how much is the premium plan? $75. What? Okay, so they're just bundling all these things together and making you pay for them. Now, prepaid. Prepaid is now starting to offer these premium unlimited plans where you get this, and this extra. But folks, the price is going up. It's the same thing as postpaid. But prepaid versus postpaid, you can actually pick your plan on prepaid. And we'll get to this carrier, what I'm talking about with the carrier deals versus the prepaid. But on prepaid, there are prepaid phone plans that are $5, $10, a la carte. This month, I want some data. I'm getting ready to travel. I'm going to add some data on. I'm going to take it off. That is what you should be leading to. Paying the least amount of money as possible monthly. This is just basic economics to where you want to save as much of your cash flow as possible. Save as much as possible. Get the most out of a situation and put away the most you can put away. So get all the services you can get and then put away all the stuff in the storehouse for you that's going to benefit you later, which is your funds. So I'm all for buying a prepaid plan and then buying your device any way that you can. Now, the thing about financing a phone through a carrier is that there are some perks depending on who you are. So I read Trent Tech's comment on my poll on Twitter, and he said, it's not a trap. It's not a trap because if you're going to stay with that carrier for 3 years, then yeah. Are you going to keep this phone for that term? Then it's not a trap. Technically, he's on point with that. I agree that it appears to not be a trap if you're going to stay with that carrier. But the flip side of that is that you still have to pay this higher bill if you're not on prepaid. And there are some prepaid bills that are high. I'm not saying that all prepaids are low, but you don't get the flexibility to leave if something happens. Because if you do, I've already explained to you what's going to happen. So yes, if you're a person who's been on a carrier, check this out. I was with T-Mobile for 26 and a half years. I was with them before they were T-Mobile. I had to switch though. The service is freaking horrible now. Horrible. I switched to Cricket, which is basically a subsidiary of AT&T. Phenomenal. And I didn't get an AT&T plan because I'm saving so much money on Cricket Wireless. It's incredible. We'll discuss that too. But I understand Trent's point of view because that is my point of view to a certain extent. But being stuck and you can't leave and there's no flexibility and so you're going to reply, I can leave, but you have to pay for that phone in full now. And if you don't, they put it all on your credit plus the remaining balance of your bill. You don't know what they're going to do to you after that. So I understand the logic behind that. And I agree with that to a certain extent, but I still say it's a trap because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. We don't know what's going to happen in a year. And the problem I see also with financing a new phone through a carrier is that a lot of people now, they follow these people called influencers. And they follow them blindly, I might add. Now, I'm not saying everyone is like this. But based on what I can see, I see very few people saying, hey, man, this phone is $99 and it is amazing. It does everything I want it to do. And from my channel's experience, I've learned that when I focus on phones that are under $300, they're more appreciated because I'm talking to real people. I got to understand, or I've come to understand, because I asked for discernment. I want to understand every level playing. I want everything to be just fair across the board. And I know I might be living in a bubble, but you are who you're around. You present who you are, I should say. And this is who you are. Basically, when you're hanging around a certain type of person, you start to believe what they believe, and you're being influenced, and you probably don't know it. But folks, just because I buy all these phones, that does not mean you have to. So then, when I see comments on all these videos where phones are under 300 or they're low in price, two types of people comment. They're the real people, the realistic people who understand reality that 75 to 90% of the world are buying phones under a certain point, under 500. tons of people who cannot or just do not want to owe someone. They're fine with buying that phone for $200 and using it until it breaks. They're the ones who are winning. They're getting their money. They don't care about security patches. They don't care about software updates. They just need a phone to talk to their people, text with, call with, whatever they're going to do with it. Those are the people that win. I know people, and I have people in my family that have had the same phone for more than 10 years. Still looks good, still works. Is it slower than it was initially? Compared to today's tech, it is. But what is it doing for them? You understand? So being in a lease/contract, to me, is a horrible deal for that reason alone. When you get into a situation where people are blindly following the creators that are online, they end up wanting instead of needing. And you can deny this all you want to, but I read your comments, and I've read so many comments that say, I didn't even want this, but I watched this video and now I want it. I'm getting ready to give up this phone I just paid $1,200 for. I finally paid it off, and now I'm going to switch just because. Now, these people aren't wrong per se. They're living, they're doing what they want to do. But that type of mentality will get you broke. You won't be poor, you'll be broke. Because so many people online now have this option, or in the world, they have this option to finance phones that are way outside of their budget. It doesn't matter, coming from someone who was broke and actually poor a little bit, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It depends on what you're doing with the money you have coming in. So the person who can handle $10 can handle $10,000. So you need to live as though you don't have $10,000. I had somebody ask me, how did you pay for this car cash? Well, I live as though I don't have $65,000. I live as though I'm just the same guy I was years ago when I was really broke, struggling. But material things are material things, and we live how we're going to live. But when it comes to cell phones, pushing the narrative is what carriers are now doing. If you look at Verizon's website, you'll see free T-Mobile says free Galaxy Z Flip 4. $1,000 off the Z Fold 4 if you join our Magenta plan, Magenta Max. So this Magenta Max plan is very expensive. Even with my government discount that I had when I recently just switched from T-Mobile after all those years. I've had enough. I don't need to keep bragging about how long I've been with them and being loyal to this company. Even though my plan was only like $75 for 4 lines of unlimited, 50 gigs of hotspot. It was a really decent plan for it built up to that point. I kept getting these things over time to where it got to the point where I was just paying like $80 or something like that for 5 lines, unlimited everything with hotspot. It was a great plan. But it doesn't do me any good if I can't make phone calls and everyone keeps saying, you sound like a robot. Oh man, your phone dropped. This is horrible. You don't have service. It wasn't worth it anymore. I'm totally fine with giving Cricket $100 for 4 lines, unlimited, same data speeds. But the difference is I now have service in places I did not have them. Period. But when they put out their free Z Flip 4, but you got to trade in something on Magenta Max, or you can just do Magenta Max with this. They're very expensive plans. So they are winning. They may be giving you the phone at no cost, but you have to be on their most expensive plan to do this. And if you're not, they'll give you some perks. They'll say, well, trade in and then add a line or all these different things to get the device for that price. But in the end, they want to keep you locked in. Again, it's nothing to them to allow you to to give you a credit for 36 months, folks. For $1,000 spread over 36 months, it's nothing for them to do that because they're going to get your money for this expensive cell phone plan for 3 years, guaranteed. If you're crazy enough to stay in that, they're going to get you because the cell phones now don't mean anything to them because they're going to make you pay for it. Now, very seldom do you see free phones like this jump off, but what T-Mobile's trying to do is get the jump on other carriers, because Verizon, I was going to say, they're offering $800 off of the Z Flip, but there's always a catch to it. They're offering a certain amount off the Z Fold. All these companies run these promos all the time, folks. It's nothing new. But I'm just trying to keep awareness to the people who might not be too enlightened on it. And let's be clear, disclaimer, I'm not telling you to leave your carrier. I'm not telling you to not finance phones on your carrier. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm telling you my perspective on this after doing it myself back in the day. And I'm to the point now, I'm like, screw this. The only reason that I have all these devices is because I do creation on YouTube as a little side thing for fun. But if I didn't, I would not have all these devices, and I probably would still have that old BlackBerry if it still worked. Before I was a creator, I didn't switch phones like that. I had a BlackBerry. I went from an old flip. Well, there were stages. I got my first cell phone, obviously. It was in a bag. And, then I went to the ginormous ones that I went through the state. I remember when there were no cell phones. So I pretty much have had every cell phone generation up to where we are today. I just happened to, when I got out of law enforcement, when I got out of the military and then got out of law enforcement as well, I went to college for micro application. I was into technology. So that's why I'm here. But still want to spread awareness to people. You still have a choice. And again, I just said it. I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. I'm telling you my perspective and my experience. This is what I'm saying to you. So to me, I respect all the people who have to do these deals through carriers to get these phones, or at least you feel like you have to. Now, there are some situations where your grandson broke his phone. You just don't want to put it on your credit card. You just don't want to do it. You just want to do it the way you want to do it. I'm going to leave that responsibility over here on this carrier. Zero down, no money out of pocket or whatever it is. But do you go ahead and still buy the same phone that you would have bought at cash? Or do you fall for the hype when you walk in the store and they tell you, oh, this iPhone 13 Pro Max, you can get it for $20 a month, but they're not telling you the full cost of the device at $1,300. Do you fall for that still? I live by a golden rule. I have really good credits. It wasn't always like that. But I live by a golden rule that if you can't pay cash for it within that 30 days, don't swipe that credit card. Don't float the money. Now, for me, again, it took some years, but I have a zero interest credit card. Both of my credit cards are zero interest. And you can have a zero interest credit card like mine, like a Black Card. You can have these cards, but it took me some time to get to this point. I had the 26 APR rate. You know what I'm saying? I had those bad rates at one point. But it's about, I guess, going through you got to earn your way, I guess, or something like that. If you want to think of it that way, you got to put in the work. So if I do swipe my credit card for something, okay, I have zero interest. I could float it if I wanted to, but I still don't. I try not to finance food, like swiping your credit card at places for restaurants. The times that I think we've done that is because there's a lot of points coming for it. So here's another way. I'm going to get back to the phones, but manipulating the system is pretty easy. My credit card, I get points for everything. Everything. I mean, anytime I swipe my card, it's points. But the key is to pay that back right afterwards. Don't let it get to your credit. Now, we'll do a financing class later, but I'm really good with I've become, again, I ask for discernment on things, and I want to I'm willing to put in the work, so I'm willing to see what it takes. If you don't fail, you're never going to know what it's like to get to a certain place in your life. So when it comes to cell phone plans, folks, you have the options to go prepaid, and I'm always going to recommend. Shout out to Gigi. She always talks about what her prepaid carriers, and that is the way to do it, because I'll ultimately have two carriers now. I used to have four carriers because I get such a nice discount, which is why I did that. But I now only have Cricket and Google Fi. That's it, and I'm thinking about starting a little backup line on T-Mobile for $10 a month, because there are some places where T-Mobile can reach and AT&T can't, i.e. hospitals. I was at my doctor's appointment and my Cricket line lost service. But the VA hospital has free Wi-Fi, and I hate getting on free Wi-Fi, but I still was able to get things done, like text messages, things like that, emails, while I was waiting. It only stopped working when I went way in the back of the hospital. But other than that, it was good at the front. But with T-Mobile, I have service all through the hospital. So I'm thinking about activating the eSIM on one of my phones, whichever one, and just having a backup so I always have service. But my thing about financing phones, folks, just be careful. If I'm going to tell you anything, be careful. Don't be too quick to fall into the hype when a sales rep walks up to you and says, "Oh, your bill will be only $172 a month if you got these two phones financed for you and your wife or you and your daughter." That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I personally feel like, and I've done videos on this before, I just feel like it's a bit of a trap because they're blatantly just lying to you in front of your face by telling you you're not under a contract. Sure, you're under a contract. I've broken that down to you. I've talked to you also about how they add on insurance, because the smart thing would be to add on the insurance knowing that you're going to be locked in for 3 years for something that's going to be outdated in 6 months. And that's one thing I want to touch on about that too. Let me get on that while I remember it. Buying a new phone on when it comes out on these long contracts, 24 months, 36 months, technology is a huge influence now over our world. Everybody is taking photos of themselves. They're videotaping murders and people getting prosecuted. All these things are happening because people are recording things. And so you need your cell phone, you need good service, and you need a good phone to do so. At least a good phone, that is. But financing the phones like that, it's just hard for me to put it together why a person would, I guess. It's a deep conversation. I could go on and on. But I just believe that, I mean, I got to get out of it because my mind is all over the place because this is a conversation that I would love to do a live stream about or meet some people in person. I totally lost my train of thought too. But I've gone over a lot of topics and I can't tell a person what to do. But again, just coming from my perspective on this, and you know what? There's people that totally agree with me, and there's people that totally disagree with me. Respect. But I can't wait to read the comments for some of you people out there in the comment section who actually watch the video and then just look at the title and make a comment. That happens. That's like 75 or 80% of the comments are just people who read the title. But I wish I can go on and on. I really, really, really enjoy having discussion videos. And you tell me if I missed something in this video, if I missed a question or I answered something, you wanted a little more on that answer, leave it down below. I'll leave feedback to you in the comment. I love to reply to comments when they're adding value to the topic and conversation. But other than that, man, I better get out of here before I ramble for 45 minutes. I'm starting to lose my train of thought. The reason it's so much I want to talk about that it's, yeah, I could go on and on. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask that you, hopefully you got something out of the video, I should say. If you didn't, hey, respect that too. But this topic is not so vague to me. I just feel like the contract thing is still a lease. A lease is a contract, same thing. They're going to get your money. Their plan is to get your money monthly. And the phones only mean so much. But now that you have to pay for the phones, that's a whole nother ballgame. So do you buy the prepaid phones or the unlocked phones? Unlocked, folks, by the way, is the best way to go. This is the way to go. No ifs, ands, or buts. You should be living unlocked if you can. If you can, live unlocked. And by today's pricing, I mean, you got the Pixel 6a, you got Motorola, you got all these different companies who offer some pretty affordable devices that you don't have to buy through your carrier. So who are you? Are you unlocked or are you locked in? It's your man Jay. See you in the next one. Take care.